Voidmage Gamer is now partnered with Flipside Gaming, so you can use the promo code on their website, all caps, Voidmage, to get 10% off all orders $10 or more. It's a great way that you can support both Flipside Gaming and Voidmage Gamer's channel. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Commander Top 10 video. Continuing the 3 colored cards in Commander, I'm going to go over my picks for the top 10 Naya colored cards in the format. Now, out of the 3 colored options, Naya is probably my least favorite because it seems that it's mostly just big creatures. I've never really been the biggest fan of the synergies within these colors, but there are some pretty cool options, pretty decent mechanics to actually work with. So let's get right into it with honorable mentions. Now that we're in 3 colors, you can't expect a whole lot. So Palladium Moors, the Ruiner, very boring. Probably one of the poorly designed cards from M19. They could have put more effort into this card, maybe an actual mechanic that wasn't just protection, because when it comes to support for 3 colors, we really need a lot more. So I guess you could use Palladium Moors as a Voltron commander, but other than that, I mean, come on, you want something to experiment with, you want something different, and what we have here is relatively vanilla. So let's start it off here with the list. Number 10 is Mayael's Aria, one of the least played Naya cards, and it's really cool. It's at first going to seem kind of like a Felidar Sovereign, where it's a win con that's going to draw a lot of hate, because people don't want to lose the game just on an upkeep trigger. However, there's more to this. There's more of a benefit even if you don't have that ultimate condition met of having a creature with power 20 or greater, which is incredibly possible in Naya colors. I mean, this is big creature colors we're talking about, but you also have the ability to gain some life, and you also get +1/+1 counters on your creatures too. And these do stack, so if you have a creature with 10 power, you're also going to get the counters as well as the life gain. So it's a pretty sweet card. Not going to see a ton of play, which is why it's only number 10. Number 9, we have Rith the Awakener, one of the more underrated token commanders. Probably underrated because you do have to deal damage with them, just like a lot of those other dragons. Having to pay mana on that trigger does limit its usefulness. However, if you are lucky enough to have a ton of permanents on the board that are the same color, you should be able to get a ton of Saproling tokens. Another synergy you could go with, Saproling Tribal, although I personally would just go with a generic token deck. But much lower on this list because having to deal damage to get that usefulness is a little troublesome. Number 8 is Gishath, Sun's Avatar. It was a big deal in Ixalan the first time around, not having many dinosaurs to work with. It was still fun experimenting with the tribe, and Gishath is really our first experience with that. If you're making a pure dinosaur deck, it's probably best off that you go with this one. Speeds up your deck, makes it easier for you getting your other dinosaurs out there, cheating them into play, along with some pretty good keywords that allow you to deal that damage. There is going to be another dinosaur on this list, you probably guessed it already, but Gishath is lower here because it is pure dinosaur tribal, not going to see that much play outside of the tribe. Moving on to number 7, we have Samut, Voice of Dissent. I might be cheating here a little bit. Technically, she's not Naya. She's never going to see play outside of Naya colors. She does make a pretty sweet Naya commander because her ability costs that 1 white mana. I could have put her on the Gruul list, but that would have been weird. I think she's pretty good, though, if you want to go for human tribal, if you need a good haste enabler. One of the most underrated aspects about her is that she does have flash, and anytime you can throw out pretty good keywords with flash, it's going to make it difficult for your opponents to try to run you over when you can just stop them with a pretty good keyword creature with double strike. Overall, though, when it comes to design, she's really weird, but relatively simple. Not going to give you a ton to work with. The mechanic isn't super interesting, but giving your other creatures haste is pretty good. Number 6, we have Mayael the Anima, one of the oldest Naya options, and this is where Naya has this reputation of big creatures. She's the big creature commander. Mayael is specifically the commander where you're going to be fooling around with creatures power 5 and greater, which could make it a little bit awkward, a lot slower, and I feel like Commander has sped up a bit, and this being on a tap ability makes it even slower, so she has gone down a bit in my book. Huge upside though is because it is so specific about creatures power 5 or greater, it does make it a little bit easier to build around her than some of the other commanders on this list. Number 5, we have Naya Charm, a pretty decent 3-color charm. I'm not the biggest fan of playing these in Commander unless they actually give me good modes. I usually stick to the 2-color charms though. This one's not half bad. 3 damage to a target creature is kind of useless. The instant speed, return a target card in a graveyard to its owner's hand is pretty good. Not that often you see that at instant speed. You can also tap all creatures a target player controls, making this even more useful because Naya is going to be primarily creature power, so making it easier to run over your opponents is typically what you want to do. Number 4 is Gahiji, Honored One. A really underrated commander option and also pretty good as one of the 99. I found him to be pretty cool if you want to build a Pillow Fort deck, so he does go along with that vibe of trying to deflect any attention from yourself. If you can encourage your opponents to attack each other by giving their creatures a power boost, it's going to make the game a little bit safer for you. He's a really cool option for me whenever I want to play Pillow Fort because Kenios and Tyro, one of the more popular Pillow Fort commanders, or just group hug. There's not a lot of muscle in that deck, so you're going to want to keep the attention away from yourself, so he is incredibly political, and something as simple as what he does, I feel like it's cool. We should see more of that in the format. Number 3 is Uril the Miststalker. One of the more powerful Voltron options, if I do say so. Kind of like why Narset is so powerful. The built-in hexproof is such a pain to get over. You're usually going to need something like a Grave Pact or some kind of board wipe, because he is not easily dealt with. In addition to that, you also get a huge boost if you have auras attached to him. +2/+2 for each one, and this is in addition to whatever else the auras are going to do. They give him additional power. He's going to be even bigger. One of the more dominant threats when it comes to Voltron, in my opinion, because if the goal is getting to 21 commander damage, this is one of the easiest ways you can do it. One of the biggest problems with Voltron commanders is how easy it is to deal with them. Not only does he have hexproof, but you're in the colors to give him whatever keywords you want to, and those auras are probably going to give him some pretty disgusting keywords. Things like Trample, Double Strike, Vigilance, so you can keep him as a blocker. Definitely one that I think should see way more play. Number 2, we have Marath, Will of the Wild. I was talking earlier about token decks. While I wouldn't say Marath is a go-wide deck, you definitely have a lot of utility here. The one thing I liked about Commander 2013 is that you had certain commanders that gave you additional benefits depending on how many times you cast them from the command zone. Marath is one of those. The more times you cast, the more +1/+1 counters you get, and having different modes, depending on how many +1/+1 counters you want to remove, you could put those counters on another creature, you could deal X damage to another creature, player, or you just make the XX green elemental creature token. A lot of versatility there, not necessarily one right way to build the deck. So if you're looking for a little bit of flexibility building around a commander, Marath has been one of the more versatile ones. I do like the ability to just sit on Marath and wait for the best opportunity to burn a player or just remove a problem creature. Having responses is necessary in this format, so a huge bonus with Marath. And number 1, speaking of responses, we have a commander in Zacama, Primal Calamity, that gives you pretty awesome abilities in Naya. Now, I mentioned earlier how Gishath is probably the better dinosaur tribal option, but I think if you want to build a deck in general in Naya colors, you can't go wrong with Zacama. You pretty much have everything met here. An awesome cast trigger that allows you to untap your lands, 3 pretty powerful keywords, and 3 pretty decent abilities. You can burn a creature, probably the least powerful one. You can destroy a target artifact or an enchantment, or you could just gain 3 life. The life gain is incredibly underrated. If you could just sit on your open mana, you'll end up gaining a ton of life. And of course, whenever you can threaten artifact enchantment removal, it's going to make your opponents play a little bit slower. You do have the combos though. You could generate infinite mana with this kind of commander, and this is big creature colors we're talking about, so there's a lot of things you can do with that mana. There's also the commander damage option, seeing as in Naya it probably shouldn't take you more than 2 swings to kill a player with Zacama. Just a lot of things you can do here. If you want to play control, you can play control. You don't necessarily have to compromise because you have the whole package here. Really sweet commander, definitely one I recommend. Probably the best in these colors. But anyway guys, that's going to do it for the top 10 Naya list. Let me know what you think about Naya, your favorite cards for commander. You all have a wonderful day. Voidier signing off. See you all next video.